everybody. Welcome to my podcast, Adoption, Love, and Life with Kaylin. We talk about adoption through experiences through other adoptees. And today I have my brother. Welcome, Braden.
Hi, everyone.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yep.
Got the long hair growing.
Going all gypsy and traveling everywhere.
That's what my brother does. He kind of travels, so I don't see him very often. Mm-hmm. So when he comes, he is going to do this podcast without any script or...
Didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah. Yes, you did. But he doesn't have a script, so we'll just see how it goes. But I do have a little flashcard here for me to ask him a few questions about his adoption. So I'm excited that you're here.
Thanks.
Mom mentioned a little bit about my brother being adopted as well. So now we get to ask him questions.
Now you get to meet me.
Yep. And you can ask me questions if you want along the way. We are 8 months apart. Mm-hmm. And growing up, everybody thought we were twins because we were in the same grade together. But that's because I'm the dumb one and got held back.
Whatever.
It's okay.
She just didn't know the language at the time.
Yeah. But anyway, so everybody thought we were twins. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All the time. We're like, oh, yeah, that's my brother. And they're like, what? Are you guys twins? Because we were in the same grade. I'm like, no. But we're only 8 months apart. And they're like, wait, how does that work? And so then they figured out that we were both adopted.
I always confuse the adults. Your mom had two of you within 8 months?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
I think the best, though, is when it was like a couple years ago. But anywhere we go, like in high school, especially in high school and college, we would walk with mom somewhere, like at a restaurant, or I would say mom, and people would just turn and be like, that's your mom? Because my mom looks so young.
Yeah.
But I remember one that she told me that you guys were at the mall. Braden was holding on to my mom's like hand, and somebody asked you guys if you guys were dating, right?
Yeah, I've had multiple. I've either had, is that your girlfriend or is that your sister? And I would just blush red because I was like, oh, that's embarrassing.
It was fun stories.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm excited to ask you these questions about how you felt about being adopted.
Yeah, of course.
I know we've talked about it before, but it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these questions I probably don't even know. So the first one is going to be just like the background of your adoption story and how it all started for you through your perspective. So your orphanage, just talk a little bit about your orphanage, like how you were, and then when mom and dad came in the picture. And yeah, we'll just go there.
So I guess I'll take the floor and tell the story. So
yeah.
So let's go back. I'm now 37. Let's go back about 30 years ago.
30 years ago on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day. So, by the way, we just celebrated our get-together. So
we did.
That was fun.
That was fun.
We have an anniversary every year. But anyway, so I remembered, let's start with some of the memories, earliest memories that I had.
Okay, I did ask like 3 questions all at once, so.
That's fine.
Your orphanage, how was it like? How was it?
So I remember it being very, very cold, except inside was very, very warm.
Okay.
My orphanage was in a place called Ostoshkova. It was located in the Tver Oblast region of Russia.
So over by Moscow.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah.
Northwest
from Moscow. Okay.
About 100 miles or so. And our orphanage was a 2-story, very large orphanage. Most orphanages were small in that in Russia, but mine was big in particular.
Okay. How many kids?
There was 120 kids of us.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It was the party. It was
party. Fun. And it was a party.
It was.
Because I feel like they really took care of you. The woman that ran it or that were in charge. Like you were a very happy kid.
Yeah, we had three mothers that took care of 120 kids of us, and there was a head mistress that oversaw the three mothers.
The head mistress,
I'm
like the
her-
boss, you mean?
The boss.
Oh, okay, okay.
To call her, and so yeah, we had a system. We woke up at a certain time. We ate at a certain time. We played at a certain time.
So you had like a schedule.
We had a schedule. We had it was pretty much kindergarten at the very start.
That's fun.
It was fun, but it was very organized.
Totally different than mine.
So, well, I kind of want to give you the general. One thing I want to express is a general feel of the orphanage, besides the structure, besides the three mothers and the 120 kids, and that is, I felt like I was raised pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
In that orphanage, pretty much. People have asked me questions about it, and they've asked, how was it? And I said, you know what, it felt like pure heaven.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got lucky, I think, because you were also in an area that was a little bit more wealthy. And so I think you did well. Yeah. So they took care of the orphanage a little bit. They just had it, where mine was such in a poor place that it just wasn't run very well, or they didn't pay. Yeah, neglected. They didn't pay as good. Yeah. So yeah, totally different. But I'm glad that you were happy.
Yeah, I was very, very happy. I was shining. But so going to the story of getting adopted by this couple, I remember going to sleep that night, and I remember having this dream a couple times.
Okay, Mom told me a little bit about this. I've never heard it.
I can't believe you never heard of it.
I don't think, or maybe.
You weren't paying attention because Dad and Mom both knew about it.
Well, I didn't even know about it, or maybe I forgot. Yeah, kids do that to you.
Happens. So,
I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, so I remembered going to sleep, and I don't know why, but it was just so vivid, and I just felt the dream, and so maybe that's why it just really always stuck with me, really resonated with me. Mm-hmm. And so I remember going to sleep. We slept on bunk beds, and I slept on the top bunk bed. And I remembered going to sleep one night, and falling asleep and having a dream. Okay. And I always went into deep sleeps. I love sleep. And I remember having a dream, a very vivid dream, of a couple, and it was a black. Imagine it to be a black screen, mm-hmm. and I remember seeing on the right hand side, as if a little bit farther out, a man coming to the right hand side and just walking straight, and then stopping and then looking at.
So me. Like a black figure.
The figure wasn't black. The person had color, but there was just darkness.
Oh, okay.
So, and then there was a woman that entered from the left of the screen, and walked to the middle, and stopped and looked at me as well.
Okay.
And then they would walk slowly close to me. And I just remember in the dream memorizing the shape of their faces, their eyes, the nose, the mouth, the hair. So
you could actually see what the faces look like.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I can't explain.
And this was the day before you got adopted, or a couple days before?
This was I had it multiple times, so it was 2-3 days.
So 2-3 days. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I just remember seeing their faces. Now, my orphanage, I don't remember or recall couples ever coming.
Okay.
To be honest.
Just people coming to adopt. You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't remember that. I knew every once in a while we'd have somebody, but it was just so rare.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't common at all.
Okay. So the day of your adoption, did they tell you were getting adopted? Did they give you any warning or anything like that?
They did say one thing. So I woke up, and I just remembered one of the moms taking no. I believe one of the mothers just said to all the kids, she walked in the room of the bedrooms, and she says, we have a couple coming to adopt.
Oh, okay.
And all the
Okay.
kids got excited.
Yeah.
All their faces lit up like Christmas. Like, I hope it's me. I hope it's me.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just something to really look forward to because it was just so. We really got somebody. We really had a couple coming. And so I remember we went throughout the day, the schedule, and they came relatively early, somewhere between 10 and 12 a.m.
Okay.
And I remembered specifically, so after we had finished eating, and the mother said, go into this room with the piano, and it was like there was a brown floor, kind of more of a darker toned room, and
Which
I
is
remember,
so amazing that you can remember that.
yeah,
Like the details. Like
Yeah.
I only remember bad details, so I don't even remember like
yeah.
but that's so cool. Okay.
So I was a very self-aware kid by the age of 7.5.
Okay.
So yeah, and so I remember all the kids rushing into that room, and for some reason I wasn't expecting much. I was like, you know what? There's 120 of us.
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances?
Yeah. Whatever. It's not going to be me.
It's probably not gonna be me.
Okay.
But whatever. Let's find out. But secretly, I wanted to be adopted.
Oh yeah.
I think every kid wants to be adopted, especially by a family that lived in America.
Yeah.
That's just where everyone wants to go.
For sure.
And so, I remembered all the kids rushed in, and I heard excitement and enthusiasm. The energy was just off the charts, and I was one of the last ones, probably one of the last 10 to walk in there. And I remember turning this corner, and I saw this couple's faces, and a warm smile just came to my face and just radiated. I was like, "Those are my parents." That's my mom and dad
That you saw from the dream.
that I saw from my dream.
That is so awesome. That gives me goosebumps. That's so cool. You know the story that mom and dad shared, like how they found you, right? They've told you?
They told me, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Which I think is so cool because they had like a connection and then you had some sort of connection.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no connection, and that's fine. I didn't feel anything because I didn't even know what was happening.
Well, to be fair, I wasn't even planning to be adopted initially. You were, so
That's true.
If that makes you feel a little bit better.
Well, it does. It does a little bit. But I wish that I can have like a cool moment like that, or just like a cool, like I think a spiritual moment knowing. I mean, you had a dream and then you knew, and then as soon as you saw them, you knew that they were adopting you. I think that's so cool. When you met them, like you knew, like did they give you like a hug and like?
So
what do you remember from interacting with them?
I remember the way I reacted was I didn't straight up run to them.
Okay.
I walked up to them just like almost gracefully. I don't know why, but I just walked up to them, and I was looking at their eyes, and the first person to pick me up was Dad.
Dad. Aw.
And
That's so cute.
Yeah, and put me in his arms and raised me up. And so, yeah, and after that, like, I just remember being happy. I think I just kind of phased out, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I was sky high.
So then you do then remember that, oh my gosh, these are the people who are going to take me home, and I'm going to go home now.
Yeah.
Okay. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What is your transition after, like you came to the United States?
Yeah.
What was your transition there? Because I feel like my transition was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I had to, I mean, I struggled with a lot of things just because the way that I was grown up in the orphanage. But I felt like your transition seemed really easy because you were just very happy and outgoing.
Yeah.
But what?
Very outspoken.
What was your transition?
I acclimated and I adapted readily and quickly. Within a year, I was speaking English fluently.
Yeah. But you also like just got along with everybody and like weren't scared of anything.
Yeah. I was, and I think a lot of that had to do with being kind of, I don't know if in the orphanage I was kind of conditioned or prepared that I was going to be adopted at some point or another. Mm-hmm. I think I always believed I was going to get adopted. And so, so
they like prepared you.
So I was prepared. A little bit. So okay. I wasn't scared or afraid or shy or nervous. I knew I was supposed to be here.
Yeah. So, Mom and Dad mentioned that the one thing that we were really curious about mm-hmm. was flushing toilets in the plane. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember it in the plane, but I remember once we get to our house in Provo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was our thing.
Yeah. Well, in Russia, I actually did have a toilet in my orphanage. Okay. Which was unheard of. But the water would swirl one way, and when you got to America, the water would swirl the other way.
Oh, you even remember how? I don't even see the little details that you remember.
It's weird.
It's amazing. Just like growing up since we were here, mm-hmm. In the United States till high school. Is there something that you struggled with that made you think back about adoption or anything like that? Like, did you struggle with anything?
I wouldn't say I struggled. On a rare occasion, I would think about, who is my mom? Like, who is my biological mom? Mm-hmm. But that thought came and went. Like, okay. It didn't really hung around too much because, you know what? I was happy.
Yeah. You were happy. I think the one thing that I really enjoyed growing up with you, mm-hmm. I mean, I hated you at the beginning.
She did.
I really did. I feel so bad now. But I remember just how positive you were and how like happy you were. And I remember one day when we got in trouble, and I always got in trouble, but sometimes my mom would either ground us to each other or like we'd have to sit in timeout for like 20 minutes and hold hands, and I would not hold your hand. Right. I would just be so stubborn. But I remember the one time we went and we had to go pick up rocks over by the horse pasture. And I was like so mad. And you were like, oh, we're going to have such a good time. And I was like, oh my gosh, he is so annoying. Just let me be mad. And started picking up the rocks and putting them, on the other side in the corner. And he was singing a song. And
making a game out of it, trying to put it, trying to throw it in a certain, hoop it. Essentially.
Yes. And I was so mad because I was like, oh my gosh, can you just like be angry for once? And I picked up the rock and I threw it at him and
she got me right here.
I thought I hit his back and put a dent in it. But no, I hit his head. I was so mean. I'm so sorry.
No. Luckily, it was pretty rare we got in trouble. So it was always super small.
But that's what I loved about like just remembering like how you were like so positive mm-hmm. and like you just turned everything to like a fun game or something, and like I really admired that from you.
Yeah. And that's one thing I would say is one of the things that has always bothered about me personally was just the way I was physically born. Now, there's been a couple theories where so I was born a little bit different. I actually have about 7.5 fingers. Some of them don't have fingernails. This one looks like it's been wrapped around with something. I actually have 3 toes on my right, and I have 2 toes that are conjoined on my left. So I always kind of walked on the side. There's been 2 theories that I've heard. The number one theory is the Chernobyl, because I was born soon after Chernobyl, within that 1 year or a few years after it blew up, and the pollution from Chernobyl blew towards my direction. That's one theory. The second theory was there was a drug there was an anti-pregnancy drug that was going around.
Oh, yeah.
That time.
You mentioned that before.
And it caused a lot of deformities in children.
Okay.
So one or the other. Growing up, I saw how every other kid had 10 fingers, 10 toes. And I ain't going to lie, I was jealous.
I would be too. That would be like a hard thing.
Yeah.
But you never let that stop you, though, because he played all the sports.
Yeah.
He also played ping pong and taught me how to play even better.
Volleyball.
Yeah, and he even went to the Special Olympic. Oh, sorry, not Special Olympics. I always say Special Olympics. You're not special. But the Olympics in Park City for Summer Olympics, and played ping pong. So, like, anything you did, it never stopped you. So I didn't even know that you had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Until now, you're talking about it.
So yeah, it only ever really came up when I had to try and when I was required to use two hands on things.
Okay.
Like I could dribble with my left, but I can't dribble with my right.
Okay.
And I could feel that. And my left foot always has pain.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I always walk with pain no matter what. And so, but being born this way, especially going into like middle school, after elementary, I loved elementary school.
Yeah.
And
middle school is
and
just
junior
rough.
high were rough for me.
Yeah.
And junior high wasn't rough for me. Middle school was, and that was because in about 6th, 7th grade, I don't remember exactly which grade it was, but I just remembered kids were pretty. Gaining some sense of self-awareness, and they started to bully, and they started to notice anything different than them, and they would remark on those things. So I would try and hide my hand. And I remember one particular day I was sitting at a lunchroom, and I was sitting in front of a girl. I don't know her name. I think I just sat there, and I remembered feeling a little bit down and depressed. And I remember, eating. I believe I ate with my left hand, even though I usually eat with my right. I was eating with my left hand, and I remember just having on the table, I was just kind of tapping my hand while I was eating.
Oh, no, this is where your character comes to life, right?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
So, kids want to be able to turn something that they're bullied about, something negative, and find a way to flip it, find a way to switch it, because a school can either make or break you.
For sure.
And so I remember
the school, not the kids.
The kids
can make and break you, not the school.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And so, a little bit of that too. Sometimes with math, I'm terrible at math.
True. True.
But I remembered just kind of going this with my hand, and a little girl said, "Wait, stop! Do that again." And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Do what you were just doing with your right hand." And I was like, "Okay." And I just kind of.
I don't know if they can see that.
Was doing exactly the same thing, and then next thing you know, I kind of raised him up, and then I started walking around, and I was like, "What the heck?" And I just realized this looks like a little person. and from because it just had that nose, it had that bald head, it had the two legs, and next thing you know, it just came to life, and I was like, I've got a puppet on my hand.
And this is how Peter came alive.
I named him Peter, and the reason why was because I loved Peter Pan growing up, and the other second reason was because Peter can fly. So, and I would show this to all the kids, and the kids would all love Peter. He could fly. He could turn into a starship. He could land. He can pray. He can sleep, or he can pray. And he was just too adorable, and so everyone loved him, and even I fell in love with him.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Peter.
Yep.
I think it's so funny. My kids even love him.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. That's just something that you've turned around, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
What is one thing you have learned by being adopted?
What is one thing that I have learned to being adopted? It's something that,
You know, it's kind of like a loaded question.
It's a loaded question, and it's a deep question, and probably one that I'm just gonna say it because I don't know any other way to say it. I love my family, and I feel really close with them. But I've always had that distinction, that divide, like saying I'm me and they're them. Like I never quite felt like we
all as one.
All as one.
You kind of feel like you're the only one. You're the only one that's different.
Yeah.
And no one gets you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I definitely. There's something sometimes
like the barrier,
missing.
This invisible barrier.
Yeah.
That stops between me and them.
Yeah.
And
so something's missing.
Yeah. Like something's missing. You know, like there's not quite that bond or connection that I might have had I been blood.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
For sure. I think maybe, and I can't say for everybody else, but I definitely have felt like that.
Yeah.
Just growing up, I'm straight to the point. I tell people, and a lot of people are just like, wow, where'd you come from?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you don't want to know. Yeah. My husband, Eric, when we were dating and then got really serious and got married, I always have a hard time. I'm like, oh, I just feel so alone at times.
Yeah.
Or I feel like something is missing when I look at people's photo books.
Yeah.
And like Eric has one of all of him when he was like a baby. Mm-hmm. And that's where it kind of comes back to me and it kind of hits me because I'm like, oh, I'm all alone because I don't have any baby photos. I don't have anyone to talk about that's an ancestry, right? Mm-hmm. That he has, because he has all of these stories about grandma and grandpas and great grandma and grandpas and ancestries, and they have all of these pictures and albums.
Yeah.
And then I sit there and I'm like, I don't know any of mine.
Yeah.
And so that is one scenario, and I have many where it just hits me and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm all alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just that 7-8 year gap that is the most critical and most crucial a part of bonding and connecting. That is more than just I don't know, I can't quite explain it, but it's just like you just don't quite have those roots seeped in deeper as they should.
Yeah. And I think we're always gonna
you feel like a kind of like a transplant in a way. So.
I think we're always gonna feel like that, like something is missing.
Yeah.
But that's okay too, because I'm so grateful to be here.
Yeah, same.
And where I am, and like, I mean, especially my situation, I probably would have been way worse in a situation if mom and dad didn't get me. So I'm very grateful.
Mm-hmm. I can say the exact same. So.
Yeah.
Russia's pretty rough.
It is rough. It's still rough. Still rough. So I think I only have like one more question to end. What do you want everyone to know that maybe others wouldn't know about you or adoption? I know, it's kind of a hard one.
Give me that question one more time.
Yeah. What do you want everyone, our audience, to know that maybe others wouldn't know about you or adoption? If you don't want to say anything personal about you, then you can just about adoption. So if someone is going to adopt or preparing to adopt or in the middle of adoption, what would you want them to know about adoption?
I would say the number one thing is, so looking back at my orphanage, yes, I was taken care of. I was happy. But in my orphanage, I also remember seeing a lot of kids that were unhappy. There was a lot of kids. My orphanage had a mix of both boys and girls. Okay. And I remember distinctly that a lot of kids kind of wore a contempted face, like they were just emotionless. And I think that has a lot to do with not getting enough attention, not enough affection,
love,
not enough love, not enough hugs, not enough cuddles, like none of that. And we don't. And I think the reason I got away with it was because of was because of my missing fingers and toes and needing to be taken care of that I kind of hogged
the attention.
And because of it, I was happy and I felt like I was a king in that orphanage. But a lot of kids, they weren't. They were unhappy. And so for couples who are going to adopt these kids in other places like Russia or Southeast China or wherever.
I mean, anywhere. It could be anywhere depending on the situation that they're in. Yeah.
Like it's for them, it's even though you may not think that there's nothing wrong, there's always something wrong.
For sure.
And so, and the earlier you adopt, the better, the easier and better it is to form a connection, that bond.
For sure.
We were adopted a little bit later, so it was tougher.
Mm-hmm.
But they crave that more than anything, and they're constantly wanting to be held, lifted up, and taken into your arms. And so don't push them away when they're trying to get close to you.
For sure.
Because that will just re-trigger memories of them believing
whatever happened in the past for them
prior is now on repeat, and they take it extra hard because they've already been abandoned once.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. That was really good. It definitely is something that I needed because I never received what you received.
Right.
So I definitely think love is sometimes all of just one kid that needs that.
Now, do you have, in your orphanage, you don't remember a single time that you felt safe or you felt loved?
No.
Not a single moment?
No. The day that, when I write in the book, it's the first time that I ever received love was from mom and dad. That's
terrible.
I know. It is terrible. And it really changed like who I am today now. And when See,
and your story is a lot more common than mine. By far.
No, and it is. And I, look, with my book and what I do with it, and I tried to help families. I've met, this adopted family that I helped, and this little girl, it always gives me chills. But this little girl, they've had her for almost a year, and they're getting ready to adopt her. And this was last year when I decided to help these families. And I remember that I couldn't meet her yet, like her family was just not ready. But when I did, I went in, and she was 5 at the time, and she, was a little bit shy, and it took me back. And it just hit me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. That was me when I was little. And anyways, got to know the family a little bit. And she was like, okay, I want to read this book. And she's like, how about you read it? And I was like, no, you can read it. It's fine. Like, you read it. Yeah. And so she started reading it. And there is a page in there where I talk about that I never received love. And the first hug that I got was from my parents. And I felt like I wasn't alone and that I felt like I was loved. And that little girl looked at me and just looked in my eyes. And she knew exactly how I felt. And that's how she is feeling right now. Because she's such in an environment that is so new to her, but doesn't know that it's good yet. And anyways, her mom finished the book, and we just had this connection. She actually didn't even finish the book, and the little girl just came over to me and just gave me a hug. And I was like, oh, that is so sweet. And I looked over to her mom, and her mom just started crying. And I was like, oh no, what happened? Did I do something? And she's like, she has never done that to anyone. She won't even do that to our extended family that she's met.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my goodness, that's just a connection, right? And it's something that's really hard for me to talk about because I didn't receive it. But I know that I can help those kids that do feel alone, that there are good parents out there that want to just give them love and just make their life a little bit better.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't remember receiving any of it.
That's intense, because it's just interesting, because I feel like you, in your orphanage, you had love, but the way you were treated, it just you became reserved. But for some reason, you turned that pain and you turned it into strength. And that's something I've always admired about you, is that you always were independent. You always found
right.
you didn't take any crap from anybody, not even Dad.
Not even Dad.
And I wish you would sometimes, because those screaming matches were just too much. I had to bury myself in the room. But no, you were just always strong, and so you always had natural leading capabilities. And all your friends, they always gathered around you. They always followed you. You had, I don't know how many you had, 5, 10 friends or whatever, all through elementary, middle school, junior high, high school. Like, you always had all these friends, and it's like, and you just, and you always stood up for them. Like, you had whatever you did, whatever happened in that orphanage, it wasn't all completely negative.
No.
Like, it solidified your character a lot earlier in life. You knew who you were far earlier than life than anybody I knew.
Oh, well, thank you. That was very nice.
Of course.
Aw, make me cry. Anyways,
Cry?
almost. Oh my goodness. That's like the nicest thing you've ever said. Just kidding. Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Do you have any questions for me? I know you asked me already one, but if you don't have any, then we'll kind of end this podcast. We might do another episode if people have questions, but do you have anything for me?
I can't think of anything else.
That's okay.
Right now.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
I loved hearing that story.
Yeah.
And I'm happy you're here.
Me too.
So, well, thank you all for listening. And I hope that you guys will join me in the next episode with a special guest. And remember to buy my book. It is on Amazon, and it talks about my many firsts that I received that changed my life. And it's called When My World Changed by Kaylin Maurer. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
See you guys.